When I was in high school, football was my god, and everything I did at that time was based on that. So I wasn't dating at the time because I thought that, women weaken legs and all that, and I thought that, drinking was something that was going to take away my leadership as a quarterback on my team, and all I wanted to do was be All-State. And when I went to college, though, football was taken away from me, and as my God died, my morality began to die as well. And it wasn't long before I had the dates memorized when the pornography magazines would come into the campus drugstore. And I would be there when the doors opened on those dates so I could be the first one to see Gallery magazine or Playboy that month. And I would take it back to the dorm even if I had to skip class so I could take a look at it. It wasn't long before I was chasing women. What happened was the first girl I went to bed with was one that I knew I was going to marry. The next one was with someone I thought I was going to marry. The one after that was with a friend that I thought I could learn to love. And it wasn't long before a senior there at Stanford University was afraid to graduate without ever having intercourse, and she wanted to do that, which was something she wanted to check off her college checklist. And I didn't hardly know her, but I did, for her sake. And you can see how just step by step things swirled. And then before long, 1 year out of college, I had 4 girlfriends. I was sleeping with 3 of them, and I was essentially engaged to be married to 2 of them. None knew about the others. And what happened at that point was, it looked like I was leading every man's dream. And I was an all-American boy, blonde, great shape, athlete of the year, all that. But one of the things that started to nag at me inside was this draw that the porn had on me. And so I would find myself getting these magazines. I find myself looking at them and find myself masturbating, all those things that go with it. And I would find myself just sick of myself afterwards for some reason. And, there's no one around me that was saying this is wrong, but there was something inside me that it felt funny to be captured like that. And then on top of it, here I was connecting with all these girls. There were very few nights where I wasn't in bed with a girl, and yet I found myself, the more I was connecting with them in some sense, in physical sense, the less I felt connected to them on an emotional sense. And I felt just totally lonely inside in spite of all these girls around me. And
let me ask you something. I mean, when you started out, you had dreams of finding the key girl in your life and of marrying her, having a family, having children. I mean, you had the whole success story out there. You didn't intend to get into all of this stuff.
The funny thing was it was more than just a dream for me. It was actually the one thing I cared more about than football was to someday have a marriage that was successful. I came from a broken home. My mom and dad got divorced in 5th grade, and it was kind of like from that moment forward, the sun never shone as brightly again. You're just feeling your dad's gone, and you feel this disconnection that way. But then I would also wake up in the middle of the night sometimes and hear my mom crying in the next room, and I would go in to comfort her, and she would say, "Oh, Freddie, this is so hard for me. I want to try to be your dad, but I can't be a dad, and because I wasn't the woman I needed to be for him, he's left." And it was just awful. And I remember swearing to myself I would never treat a woman that way as long as I lived. And yet the funny thing was once I got into high school, especially into college, I ended up being my dad. I mean, my dad had multiple mistresses. That was the cause of the divorce. And then here I was, even though I wasn't married, 3, 4 girlfriends at the same time. I had become my dad in spite of the vow that I had made. And as I looked at it then, I couldn't believe who I'd become.